Hello everyone, it is Caitlin and today we are making a belt to kind of spice up the wardrobe a little bit and to add some variety. Okay, so let's start with pattern. I have a piece of paper here that is this length that the finished belt needs to be, and then I have this belt basically, which I think is how wide I want the majority of the belt, aside from the hooky, triangular things that go on top of the front and the back. So as far as design, I did a little bit of research. I'm seeing the pointed belts. I didn't look any further back than 1860 because this is really an 1862 to 1864 gown. But I did find one from Peterson's 1860, so I'm not concerned with the appropriateness for early work, because I know the painting, my original inspiration was 65, so I did need to go back a little bit just to verify and document that I could have this type of belt with an earlier dress. Looks like we're good. I will say that I did have some trouble deciding exactly what I wanted, because there are the ones that are just, pointed on top and bottom, and then there's the ones that are 2 points on top and 1 on bottom, and then there's a whole what to do with the back debacle. But I did take a closer look at the 1865 painting, and I'm seeing that the one point that we can see is off center, which to me is saying that the front of her belt is a double triangle with the down part in the very center, because that's what I'm seeing, which means it probably goes down once at the bottom in the front, and now we can't see the back at all, so the back can be totally left up to our imagination. I'm thinking not do anything up top, but just do 2 on the bottom. I've seen that on an engraving, I think, from Germany. So I think we're going to go with that. It looks like these belts can close a variety of ways. I've seen them close up the front with lacing. It's more like a corselet, but not necessarily a belt, but I've seen it that way. I've seen them close up the back and close up the sides. I think we're going to go with sides because that's going to be easier for me to hook and then move to the position it needs to be in when I'm wearing it. So I think we're going to go with side, which means that these ends are going to fit together. That's going to be a side. I'm just going to mark exact center of the other side. Okay. And I'm going to mark the center front and the center back. So let's say this is the center front. I'm going to mark this roughly in the center-ish. Kind of get a top for a belt. And I think this belt is, I think it's 1.5 inches wide. Yes. So I think that's what we're going to do the same thing on this belt. So I'm going to leave this on the 1.5 mark. And just mark that all the way down. So I have that marked. This is my center front. How many inches down do I want to go? See, that's pretty far if I go down 5 inches. If I go down 4, so right here. And I'm not seeing super sharp curves on this. Maybe something more like that. How many inches is that over? Roughly 2. I feel like it could be a little longer and maybe a little narrower. Okay, I like that better. Let's talk about, because these usually go up a little less. So if I wanted it to say maybe, let me make this a little wider. Let's try this far. Okay, I like that better. Not sure about these yet, if I like them the way they are. I feel like it could be closer together. about 2 inches high, but maybe a little bit. Don't have anything to measure angle at. So this is kind of a guess. I wanted it to go roughly that. And that kind of ends out where that, I think I like how it kind of ends at the same-ish spot. So roughly here. How far is that? That's roughly that far. And because really that should be ending right here. Okay, that makes more sense. And roughly right here, so yeah, that makes a lot more sense. I think it looks weird with all the very sharp lines, but I can cut it a little bit more curved. I think that'll help a lot. Okay, let's look at the back. The back, let's start it. Let's kind of do the same thing as we were doing at the front. Maybe go, what's the base of that? The base of that is about 2.5 inches. Let's do a base of 3 inches. Seems too much. Let's do a base of 2.5. And go down 2.5 this way. That's actually not half. This is half, roughly. Okay. I think that'll look good whenever we kind of even out the edges. So let's go ahead and try cutting this out and like round out those edges to see how it looks. Okay. So I'm going to take this and fold it back in half this way. That way no matter what I do, at least it'll be on the same on both sides. I think that looks pretty good. Let's try the top part. I think that definitely looks better. Probably could have made these a little bit bigger. I'm debating whether it's worth recutting it or not. Well, let's try it this way. Tape this on top and then see if I can just cut around it. I kind of like how it comes up here. I think it needs to be a little bit higher. So we need an angle here. I think this needs to come down a little bit further, maybe right here. I think that looks better. So I'm going to try folding it in half again. Yeah, I definitely like that a lot better. I might round these out just a tiny bit, so they're not terribly sharp. Oh yeah, I think that looks good. Let's work on the back. I remember to kind of round these out just a little bit. Okay, I think that looks great. So now we can go ahead and cut it out. I have some black velvet. Actually, it's not velvet. It's velveteen. It's 100% cotton. Velvet back in the day, from what I can tell, is either 100% cotton. It's either cotton or silk. You can't get silk velvet anymore. What is sold as silk velvet is really just a silk backing, and it's like 17% silk. It's a silk backing with the pile, the fuzzy part, still nylon. So the part you do see isn't even the natural fiber. So I don't consider that particularly worth it for most occasions. Also, it doesn't seem to have the same drape as period velvet or the same feel. Cotton velvet, however, is the period is actually extremely close to cotton velveteen now. From the originals that I've handled. So that's what I tend to go, it's really cotton velveteen, because that is what is, in my opinion, the closest that I have found. So let's go ahead and well, suppose it'll fit this way. Alrighty, it is. We do need to remember to add a seam allowance. Not a huge one, but enough. I like to kind of add like a 3/4 of an inch one all the way around. I managed to misplace my pins. I'm going to try to add an inch seam allowance. I'm first going to mark just right along here. So I'm thinking the base of this belt is going to be buckram, because that's what I have that's stiff. And so I'm going to cut one as buckram, just with no seam allowances. And I'm going to cut one of polished cotton with no seam allowances. Because what I'm seeing on the few originals I've been able to find, and they're mostly like the corselets, Swiss waist things, not the not actual belts, but I'm seeing the fashion fabric turned over for a while, for, you know, like half an inch or so all the way around over a lining. So I think that's going to be the easiest thing to do. And then to provide more support than the buckram's going to give, we're going to bone each of these little points. And I just put boning channels in each of the points, so there's only 5 of them. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is take our buckram piece, lay this on top, and just to give me a foundation, I'm just going to whip the edges all together so this stays together as one, and I'll do that all the way across before moving on to the next step. So this is all sewn together now, so it's just whipped all the way around, and so we can go ahead and put on the velvet part. I think the easiest thing is going to be to pin it in the middle. And we're going to fold it over once and then fold it over again. And this is what we're going to sew. That worked really well. That worked really well, and that's not terribly bulky, and that's what it looks like from the front side. So we're going to keep doing that. I think that's going to work. going to have to cut this just to make sure it's all laid right. Yeah, that looks pretty good from the front. And that looks really good from the front. So I think we can go ahead and start stitching this. So I'm just taking a bit of the lining fabric. I'm not actually going all the way through to the buckram or the fashion fabric, of course. We are on the very last step, which is to put hooks and eyes in this thing. I think we're going to start with the eyes. I think I'm going to do 3. 1 on each end, and then 1 in the center. And there's the finished belt. So I guess I can go ahead and go get on the pink dress and you try it on. Alright, it fits perfectly. Yeah, so I think it turned out really cute. It looks a lot like the painting as far as what we can tell. I think it looks really good on, as far as the height and the width of it and kind of how that all worked out proportionately. So I think we're good. You'll have to I'm going to show you the back, but you're going to forget the back a little bit because I have not basted this top into the skirt, and so it's like riding up a little bit in the back. But yeah, that was a really easy, very quick project. Probably only spent about 2 or 3 hours on it. So it was a quick, easy thing to get done, and I have another belt to add to my wardrobe. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next video.